Hello, how are you? This is the book one for July 2020. Um, Trying to get some light in here. It's dreary. We're having storm. Um, and we're reading from an essay called Boys the Men. I'm trying to at least drum up some attention and show and create some space for our children, boys and girls, to function because um, we don't want another generation to have to suffer the way we did. So let's get into it. Of course, black boys cannot entirely avoid the police. Those who cannot avoid them may resist. Resistance can be subtle or violent, verbal or nonverbal, extemporaneous or planned. Boys may resist with their voices by speaking out against seemingly arbitrary intrusions, unfair treatment, and other perceived injustices. In their verbal resistance, boys may curse, disparage the officers, or simply question an officer's decision to stop and detain them. Boys may challenge officers' orders to turn down loud music that is not that loud, to pull over for no reason at all, or to move on from a particular location when there is no criminal activity occurring. Black boys who believe they will be discredited both because they are young and because they are black have little, if any, faith in more formal grievance procedures. Reporting police misconduct to internal affairs is of little use to black boys who recognize that police are rarely, if ever, held accountable by their peers for the mistreatment of blacks. The boys' reluctance to seek reform within the justice system is likely even greater today, given the recent failures of grand juries to indict police in high-profile shootings of black males. Society's presumptive association of black boys and crime appears to lend credence to the officer's purported justifications for violence against black boys and insulates police against complaints of bias. Over time, the lack of accountability for aggressive police conduct allows officers to internalize those behaviors as appropriate and ultimately gives them a monopoly on state-sanctioned violence against black boys. That may change now that they're indicting some of these police officers, but here's the but. If they're not convicted or convicted and they appeal and they don't spend no time in prison, that's going to be a problem. You're gonna end up right back here. Unfortunately, parents' efforts to keep children safe by teaching them to stay clear of the police has had only minimal success, as if evident from news accounts of Tamir Rice's toy gun, Emilio Mayfield's refusal to sit when the officer ordered him to do so, and Tremaine McMillan's clenched fist as he walked away from the officer on the beach. Kids will be kids, impetus, emotional, and reactive. This is what any parent knows, and this is what the neurological and developmental research confirms. Neurological studies show that the section of the brain responsible for logical reasoning, planning, self-regulation, and impulse control are the last to mature and develop. Similarly, developmental studies assessing youth's capacity for self-regulation indicate that adolescents have a more difficult time than adults tempering their emotions, controlling their impulses, and suppressing their aggression. I'm not so sure about that in my community. I see more calm children, teenagers, than adults sometimes. Children are also particularly sensitive to issues of fairness and respect and more susceptible to peer influence than adults. I don't know. Thus, even when children remember their parents' advice and know it is dangerous to talk back to the police, they often cannot help it, especially in fast-paced, emotionally charged situations like those involving the police. In the heat of the moment, adolescents have a hard time focusing on the likely consequences of their actions and making rational decisions. Reckless behavior is so common among adolescents that it has been described as virtually a normative characteristic of adolescent development. Like any other group of adolescents, black boys will be reckless. They will curse, talk back, become hostile, and sometimes even fight those who mistreat them. Um, I'm basically uh, a lot of adults never develop. So we have a lot of adults in this country that are still in the teenage, psychologically teenagers, and that's why you see them losing their minds too. So that makes this even worse. And I don't know what's going to come out of this police situation, but hopefully we will have something more like, again, I say neighborhood watches, community watches, and we police each other because they're still killing people. As even some of them are being arrested and they're being investigated and protested in the streets, they're killing people. So they're just not going to stop. Um, thank you for your support. Until next time, take care of your mind, take care of your body, and be safe.